Hello, I am going to attempt to make this video about Tumbler Ridge from my non-binary perspective. First of all, I would like to say that my heart goes out to all of the children who are now navigating their path towards the spirit world, and the parents who are suffering because their children have been forced into navigating this path. My heart also goes out to all the children who are suffering in the hospital in pain, wondering why this happened to them. And I would like to say that my heart also goes out to their parents who are struggling to understand what happened here. You know, it's so easy to blame. From a lot of the shootings we've seen in the States, we've realized that the shooters were ostracized from the community. They were loners. They were bullied. You know, in a way, society is creating these situations. Now I'd like to move on to specifically what happened there in Tumbler Ridge from my perspective, again, as a non-binary person who grew up in an extremely homophobic household and who had to navigate internalized homophobia and many other things throughout my life. One of the things that we're not talking about in society really is the impacts of bullying on children who are trans and non-binary. You know, this this person was raised in a survival household around guns, taught to kill to preserve their life. This is what was taught to this girl. When it was taught to this girl was a boy. And the stepfather would have taught his stepson how to kill. Right? But the questions I have to ask is, was this girl accepted in her home? Or did she have to deal with fight, flight, freeze throughout her life because of non-acceptance of the way she was? You know, we know that kids, and at 18-year-old, it's still kids. I'm sorry to have to tell all of you who are talking about this person as an adult was still a kid. And, you know, was this kid living in fight, flight, freeze? Right? Did she get to experience the safety within her home to be able to find fear extinction? Did this have an impact on what transpired? Did the community rally around this child to try and help her to find acceptance for who she was? Or was she dealing with an intense feelings of internalized hatred for herself because of something she had absolutely no control over? I realize this is going to be an extremely non-popular opinion. But again, I'm a non-binary person who lived in hatred, who lived in self-hatred, who lived in intense internalized homophobia. My father was a priest, and I grew up listening to bishops, priests, and deacons demonizing homosexuals in many ways, telling jokes, making fun of. I grew up knowing that the church did not like me. I grew up knowing that God did not care about me. And I'm an extremely spiritual person. So not knowing that God did not care about me, or thinking that God did not care about me when I was young, had a profound impact on me as a non-binary person. Now, this drove me down a road. So when it came to fight, flight, freeze, I'm a person who fights, right? Fight, flight, freeze. You do one of the three, and it's hardwired into who you are. So this girl, I'm guessing that she was hardwired to fight. And that hardwiring to fight was reinforced through survival mechanisms around hunting and killing. Now, was it wrong what she did? Absolutely. Is it an absolutely terrible, horrible thing that she had done? Absolutely. Is it understandable? Absolutely. Now, we know that kids who are not accepted in their homes, who know that they're not accepted in their homes, who live in fight, flight, freeze, their imegula does not form properly. So they end up getting their brains damaged through non-acceptance. We know that we see this in the ACEs studies, right? And we know that these kids have a hard time in a lot of different areas. Just look up ACEs on the internet. For kids who do not find a way to experience fear extinction. This young woman, I would argue, did not have the chance to experience fear extinction. Maybe her mother supported her husband, and maybe this girl did not have any acceptance in her home at all once she started to transition. And that would have been happening even before that, because she knew what her desires were to transition long before she started the transition journey. When there was a certain amount of acceptance, but maybe she knew that acceptance was fleeting, because she knew inside herself how she was. And she knew that once she was found out, then there would be consequences for her to face. Now, once she came out, maybe those consequences became overwhelming for her. And maybe her fight trigger was initialized. Is this her fault? To some extent, yes, because she wasn't able to find a way around it. Was it the community's fault? Yes, because the community did not rally around her, even though there were many signs around her mental health that things were not going well. Your imegula not forming properly. Is this a mental health issue? Absolutely. It creates physical changes in a person's brain. That's what it does. Did she get the help from community and from healthcare professionals to be able to navigate these feelings that she was having? I don't think so, because this is not something that's being talked about in society, not even now. We talk about how LGBT2S LGBTQI plus people are more accepted now than ever. But are they really? Are they really accepted? Are we really accepted? I hear a lot of people saying, I accept 2S LGBTQI people, but not my child and not in my home. I'm sorry. That's not acceptance. We really need to find a way to support these kids, or we're going to see more of this. And it's going to be our fault as a community. Now, I don't know, I think I'm going to leave this video here because I think I've given people enough to think about. You know, this child from Tumbler Ridge who perpetrated these horrible crimes was damaged by her community and by her family. And her reaction was fight. It was not flight. It was not freeze, because she was hardwired to fight. Thank you.